What's up, my dudes? On this one, we're going to be talking about boring old Bitcoin from a bit more of a macro and portfolio management perspective. Now, I think a lot of the viewers on my channel are probably not as into Bitcoin as I am, or as I think people should be, mostly because people who watch my channel are looking for those small projects that are going to 2x in a month and make them rich, because that's alt season and that's the sentiment at the moment. And if you buy a shitcoin, it's going to double no matter what, and yada, yada, yada. But essentially, I think people are really undervaluing Bitcoin right now. I've seen a lot of things on Twitter and stuff like that where Bitcoin's boring and it's not going to 2x, so why would you invest in it and all that stuff. And yeah, okay, fair enough. But if you want to make a holistic portfolio that will withstand for the next year, year and a half, and won't make you lose sleep at night, then you need to get some Bitcoin exposure, and you need to get some, just as that portfolio rock and that sort of gold element that a traditional portfolio would have. So the point of this video is not to make you drop everything and put it into Bitcoin, because that's not the best way to view it. But if you want to build a portfolio that will withstand the test of time and withstand the different altcoin boom and bust cycles that we're going to see over the next year and a half, you need to get some Bitcoin exposure. And I really beg of you to ask yourself, what is your mindset? Are you stuck in the traditional system mindset, or have you made the switch? And what I mean by that is, where do you see crypto going in the next 5 years? Are you in crypto just to make a quick buck, just to flip your link and make a bit of money and make a bit of cash dollar on the side? Or do you really genuinely believe in this stuff? Do you genuinely see it as being the future? Because I do. And the Bitcoin I hold not to make more US dollars or Australian dollars or whatever. I own it because one day I hope that I'll be able to spend that Bitcoin, because it will have more utility than it has now. So that's what I'm betting. That's what my bet is. But yeah, I'm going to make some assumptions about the people watching this video. You either know all about Bitcoin and you agree with what I'm going to say, and you own Bitcoin, and in that case, you're ahead. You either know about Bitcoin and you agree with what I say, but you don't own Bitcoin. In that case, what are you doing? You need to make a better portfolio for yourself that reflects your market view. And the last type of person that might be watching this video are people who don't know all that much about Bitcoin and macroeconomics and the macroeconomics of Bitcoin, but they're in crypto just to chase altcoin yields and into DeFi projects just to make a quick buck. And that's fair enough, but I see a lot of potential in Bitcoin and crypto as a whole going into the future in the macro environment. And I think you should look at it from a bit more of a broad perspective, and not just look to do these 1-2 week trades where you make a quick buck. And yes, I am doing those trades as well, but I've still got my Bitcoin locked up that I'm not going to touch until I think that Bitcoin is grossly overvalued. And then when I do sell that, I'll be looking to buy my Bitcoin again. I'll be looking to buy more Bitcoin when it dumps or whatever. But that's not for 1 or even 2 years down the track. And that's how you should be viewing this. You shouldn't be viewing this week by week. You should be viewing it as a thing that will as a portfolio that will last you a lifetime. So essentially what I'm saying is Bitcoin's a bit of a nest egg, because I see it being a lot more valuable in the future. And by the time that Bitcoin's stable and you can use it as a currency and use it for all these different payment, you can use it just on a day-to-day basis to buy your groceries, it's already too late to invest in it, because by then you have to use it, because the utility of Bitcoin is the main driver of the value, and that's when it's too late. And that's when things won't be measured in your fiat normal money, because it probably won't exist or be as relevant anymore, or there'll be a hybridization, or there's a whole different rabbit hole to go down with that. But essentially, a lot of people think Bitcoin's boring. And yes, okay, it can get a bit boring and it does move a bit slowly. But if you look at that chart, that's not boring, man. Like, people have been saying, if you're thinking that, people have been saying that the whole time I've been in crypto. I've been in crypto since like early 2017, and there was different altcoin cycles within that 1 year crazy bull run. But at different points, people were saying Bitcoin's slow, Bitcoin is whatever, like I just want to double my money by putting it in altcoins. It's the same thing. Your thinking has been around in crypto for the whole time. And, Bitcoin has always been there as the solid portfolio rock that will just keep churning out. You got to think about your risk-adjusted return. So essentially, if you put money into Bitcoin, what's the risk of that halving and what's the risk of that going up? And if you compare that risk to the risk of, say, something like Wi-Fi, and yes, Wi-Fi's had a great run, but at these price levels, and I might keep going, I might be wrong, I was wrong the first time, but at these price levels, the risk of it going down and staying down is a lot higher than Bitcoin's risk of going down and staying down. So if you've got to view things from a risk-adjusted return perspective. And from my view, so I've been looking at Bitcoin for a while now. The big dogs have never been into Bitcoin more. And why is that? It's because of the attitude changes towards money following all the COVID money printing and all that sort of stuff. So before COVID was even a thing, the narrative was that Bitcoin was the store of value. And, Bitcoin's had different narratives over the years. First it was for payments, and then now it's got a concrete store of value narrative. And if you think of Bitcoin, you think store of value, but you don't totally believe in it and you don't own any Bitcoin, well, the narrative's already rubbed off on you, and that's just proof that it's out there and it's actually making a difference in people's minds. So, MicroStrategy buys 250 million in Bitcoin. A lot of you would have seen this already, but these are the big dogs that are putting their money where their mouth is and buying a lot of Bitcoin. And I don't think this is going to stop. These guys weren't the first. Paul Truder Jones, he's positioned and he's making public videos and stuff like that promoting Bitcoin. A lot of the big dogs now would probably be getting their positions. The people who are spooking Bitcoin, the big dogs who are spooking Bitcoin, are only spooking Bitcoin after they have their positions set and their bags are filled. And I think there's a lot of bag filling is going on at the moment. And, like the returns on traditional assets like bonds or something like that, or just holding cash and the money printing and all that sort of stuff, it just screams gold and Bitcoin. It screams gold and Bitcoin. And people like me, the younger generation, the future, are not going to be buying gold. They're not going to be buying a pet rock. And you watching this, you might think Bitcoin is a bit of a digital pet rock, which it kind of is. I just sit on my Bitcoin and, I could wrap it and put it in DeFi, and I have done that with a little bit, but the majority of it, I just sit on it. So in that way, it is a bit of a pet rock, but I can still send that pet rock to the UK for $3 in network fees. You can't do that with normal gold. Yeah, we all know this. Bitcoin's incredibly scarce, but you can't underestimate how scarce it is. How many millionaires in the world are there? 46.8 million according to Google. If every millionaire wanted a Bitcoin, they'd get half a Bitcoin. That's how scarce it is. And yes, not every millionaire is going to want a Bitcoin, but what if the global system has a major wake-up call, so to speak? And so I think it's quite interesting as well to look at the market sentiment of what is being posted in the media about central banks, which is pretty much the competition to cryptos. Crypto is a whole different financial ecosystem, and with central banks being the last one and crypto coming in to replace it. When you see stuff like the key central banks have locked themselves into policies with no obvious escape routes without risking market mayhem and corporate destruction on a scale much greater than was likely in the aftermath of the financial crisis. When you see stuff like that being reported, at what point will that sort of stuff be linked to Bitcoin in the media? I don't think it's far off, but we're not seeing it now. And that's when we get the real retail money. That's when we get the FOMO'd corporate money. That's when we get a fucking huge Bitcoin price. And the money that's going into Bitcoin is not going to go straight into DeFi and all these projects. It has to start somewhere, and the starting point for most people and most corporations is Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum at this point because of how well it's been doing. That's why you need Bitcoin. So if we look at the DeFi chart, right? Like what's next? Like the moon? Like is it actually going to break out of my computer screen? It's unnatural to assume that this won't have a pullback. And yes, it's gone down because Balancer got taken off DeFi Pulse for some reason. I haven't actually looked into why. But like things like that can't go forever, and we've seen it time and again in crypto and the altcoin markets. This time it's just on a different website. I think you guys should look at the Crypto Trader Digest that Arthur Hayes, the CEO of BitMEX, puts out. Just a bit of realism content in terms of crypto and altcoins and stuff like that. He doesn't hesitate to call things shitcoins, even though he might have them or whatever. So he says, while I deride many of the projects as actively resulting in economic waste, which is true, if you farm like a pasta coin or something and it doesn't actually add any value, it doesn't do anything, it's not the same with all DeFi things. But if you're chasing all this, and yes, you might be making a little bit of money, but at what point does that run out? And yes, he says there are underlying proto-banking infrastructure that is being built on the rails of Ethereum and other protocols. So he's bullish on DeFi as a whole, but he also thinks that he only likes things that are actually economically productive. So when you're investing in a DeFi project, ask yourself, is this economically productive, or is this just a speculatory hype train, greater fool theory type investment where you're going to just palm it off to someone who's being dumber than you are? And so if we look at the market cap, Ethereum's actually edging up towards Bitcoin. Market cap of 215 billion. I think that's a buy. We look at the gold market cap, 9 trillion. Yes, okay, that obviously they're way different markets, but you got to look at the younger generation. What is the future? You know, it's yes, it's about here and now, but we're investing, right? We're not always trading. We're investing. Future. Bitcoin. Not gold. Not fiat. Bitcoin. Scarce assets to underpin economic wealth. Why does asset that exponentially increases in supply determine the prices for everything else in the economy? That's not sustainable. That's not a sustainable chart of supply. And I think obviously it's not going to come to an end anytime soon, but you'd like to hope so. If you watched all of this, wow, thank you. Congratulations. I'll see you on the next one for an altcoin that will 2x in a week.